with other agencies that have similar responsibilities and functions. The Australian Border Force, of course, we're responsible primarily for the Customs Act, contraband, and for the Migration Act, for making sure that people arrive in Australia have got a visa that allows them to do so. We work very, very closely, of course, with the Department of Agriculture, who have the biosecurity function for human biosecurity. So let's talk about a cruise ship in that context when it comes into port. When a ship comes into port, there are basically three red lights. They all have to go green before passengers or crew can disembark that vessel. The first red light is the Customs Act responsibility. Is anyone carrying contraband off that vessel? We're responsible for that in the Australian Border Force. The second red light that has to go green is the migration light. Do all the crew and passengers have visas and passports that entitle them to come to Australia? The third light that has to go green is the human biosecurity light. The functions and responsibility for making that go green lie with the Department of Agriculture at the Commonwealth level, the biosecurity officers, working in conjunction with state and territory health departments. We in the Border Force do not have expertise in health or in biosecurity. So I'll now lead you through some facts about the events around the Ruby Princess. The Ruby Princess departed Sydney on the 8th of March 2020 on a round-trip journey to New Zealand. And it went via Napier in New Zealand. And it arrived back, of course, in Sydney on about the 19th of March. On the 17th of March 2020, New South Wales Health requested the following information from the Ruby Princess's senior doctor. Estimated time of arrival into Sydney, a log of details of passengers and crew presenting with fever or acute respiratory symptoms, or both, travel histories, and whether rapid flu test was conducted and the results. And they requested that any passengers or crew with flu-like illnesses were isolated and provided with hand rubs and masks, and that an announcement be made. On the 18th of March, at 09:39 hours in the morning, the senior doctor on the Ruby Princess notified New South Wales Health Department of the following. Ruby Princess had collected viral swabs for a few cases of febrile influenza, negative tests, and that those people had been isolated. They also requested an ambulance transfer for a couple of passengers who had other unrelated illnesses. On the 18th of March 2020, at 17:07 hours, or just gone 5 o'clock in the afternoon, New South Wales Health responded to the Ruby Princess and stated, and I quote, "The New South Wales Health Expert Panel has assessed the Ruby Princess as not, I say not, requiring on-board health assessment in Sydney. New South Wales Health requested that the Ruby Princess send the 15 samples to New South Wales Health Lab for COVID testing and attach lab forms as required. New South Wales Health stated to the Ruby Princess, and I quote again, "You are free to disembark tomorrow. However, according to the new Australian Government guidance, all passengers must go into self-isolation for 14 days, I in that quote. New South Wales Health provided further information on self-isolation requirements. And New South Wales indicated that they would let the Ruby Princess know when the results of the swabs analysis were received. On the 18th of March 2020, the agent for the Ruby Princess advised New South Wales Health that 13 passengers were isolated with flu-like symptoms. And on the 18th of March again, the Department of Agriculture informed the agent for the Ruby Princess that New South Wales Health had conducted a pre-risk assessment of the vessel and regarded it as low risk, that New South Wales Health were not boarding the vessel, they decided they didn't need to attend the vessel, and had New South Wales Health had also given clearance for all passengers to disembark the vessel. That red light has just gone green. So the vessel came into port on the 19th of March. 6 Border Force officers, along with 4 Department of Agriculture officials, boarded the vessel at 06:10 in the morning. As you've just heard, there were no New South Wales Health officials present. They felt the vessel was low risk and there was no need to attend the vessel. My officers wore masks and gloves, nonetheless, as per our protocols at the border. The agent advised my officers there were a number of passengers isolated in their cabins, my officers were unaware of the communications between New South Wales Health and the vessel with flu-like symptoms. At that point, the Department of Agriculture officials advised my officers that New South Wales Health had conducted a risk assessment, had rated the risk as low, and that health officials would not be attending the vessel. As a result of that information, all passengers were given the green light to disembark. I'm happy to take questions.
Commissioner, the public's trying to work out how people with COVID-19 could come into the community and cause infections around the country. Is your message today essentially that Border Force isn't responsible and it's New South Wales Health?
My message is that we all have clear and distinct responsibilities at the border. It's not an amorphous concept. And we work very closely together, and we have to make sure that things don't fall through cracks. But we have to be clear about who's responsible for precisely what. And ordinarily, and there's been very fine examples of where a cruise ship, for example, came into the port of Melbourne only a few days before the Ruby Princess. Victoria Health were advised by the ship that there were some passengers on board with flu-like symptoms. The ship came into port. There are 3 red lights on: customs, immigration, and human biosecurity. My officers were satisfied that there was no contraband on board. My officers were satisfied that there were no people on board with visa problems. But Victoria Health said, can you just hold that vessel there, because we want to come and board that vessel and we want to come and take swabs from the passengers. So Victoria Health boarded the vessel in the port of Melbourne. They took swabs and they asked us to hold all the passengers and crew on that vessel until those results of their swabs were known. So you still have 1 red light, nobody can get off. And we did that, we held them for the day, and the test results came back negative, and then they were allowed to disembark.
Commissioner, I think I'm asking you the obvious here, but could you state for us who had responsibility to stop people getting off that vessel?
The decision to allow them off in relation to the health and biosecurity issue was one for New South Wales Health.
They failed?
I'm not going to say, I'm not here to apportion blame. Look, we're all in this together in Australia, let's be honest. We have to work together. We don't want to be standing around pointing fingers at each other, apportioning blame, but the public need to know facts. That's why I've come out and studied facts today. People can make their own minds up about what went wrong, and no doubt further down the track there'll be lots of inquiries about what happened and who said what to who and who sent what emails. But for now, what I'd like to do is carry on working with the state and territory health departments, the police, the governments, industry and others, and our communities to get through this, because we're in a difficult time.
Commissioner, why weren't routine border screening measures undertaken when passengers disembarked that ship?
There were. So from my point of view, so when you think about when a passenger comes into Australia by sea or by air, there are 3 tests that are applied at the border. One is the customs test. Are you carrying contraband or prohibited imports, drugs or whatever, alcohol that you shouldn't have? The second one is an immigration test. Have you got a visa or a passport? Are you entitled to be in Australia? That's the Border Force's responsibility. We're legislated to undertake those tasks and those functions. The third one is a biosecurity test, and that's undertaken at the Commonwealth level by the Department of Agriculture biosecurity officers. For ships coming into a state's port, the state or territory health department then have a responsibility, of course, as well.